Previously on Baywatch, Mitch just lost the love of his life, Stephanie, to a damn boat mast. Anyway, now on Frozen Vikings. Baywatch Nights doesn't know or care what your emotional take on anything is at this point. What Baywatch Nights does know is how to waste time, so we're treated to 2 minutes of stock footage while Teague speaks to some no-names via voiceover. Volcanic activity in Iceland has knocked some glacier pieces loose, and they've discovered 2 frozen Vikings inside. Teague, apparently having authority across the globe, orders the Vikings be shipped to California, because where they film the show is his home base. I mean, he can probably get a team to Iceland to check it out, but what happens in the unlikely event of these Vikings unfreezing, coming back to life, and engaging in an ancient Viking feud, but there's no lifeguard/PI around to fight them with his expert ancient Viking knowledge? What then? Hey, guess what? They're gonna bring these Vikings back to life. There's another minute or so of voiceover where they explain how this will be accomplished, but it's all a bunch of bullshit, so don't worry about it. And if you have the fortitude to make it this far into the episode, you are rewarded with a shot of Teague just standing around. Pretty cool stuff. How do you unfreeze a Viking? Type a bunch of stuff on a keyboard or something? Yeah, sure, why not?
We have definite signs of internal warming.
Throw in a reused Star Trek prop and we're good to go!
The computer is initiating final defrostation.
Warm liquid goo phase complete. Evacuation beginning.
For some reason, Teague has called Mitch and Ryan to be there for this momentous occasion. So far, none of our main characters have said a single line on screen. When at last our Texan/lifeguard team arrives, Ryan is bugging Mitch about visiting some vortex in Sedona. As someone who grew up in Arizona, I'm gonna save them the time. All you will find is a bunch of new age shops selling crystals and incense. The landscape is cool though. Mitch seems mildly interested in going, which is a lot for him, but he warns Ryan. She knows how he feels about boogity boogity.
There are all these legends about
You know how I feel about boogity boogity.
I'll go to Sedona with you, Ryan, but don't you go talking about vortexes or spirits or whatever. I'm still getting over the explosion death of my frog hybrid girlfriend.
Oh yeah, didn't Stephanie just die?
Who?
You'll change your mind, I guarantee it.
You're gonna love this.
This is a bold claim, considering Mitch has never given any indication that he can still feel love at this point. But as we will find out later in the episode, Mitch does seem to have a previously undiscussed fondness for Vikings.
Oh no, our flimsy straps did nothing to contain him.
One of the Vikings is on the loose, while the other one waits for the stupid battle at the end, and the one that's awake is not happy about it. And they kept his plastic sword and helmet right next to him? Man, they really bungled this one.
Pretty spooky, huh, folks?
What do you know about things that go bump in the— Whoa! Man, you can see the plastic seam lines on the helmet. Like, you could have just not had him wear a hat, maybe. I mean, I know it's just to hide the bad wig, but, I mean, didn't make that any better, so...
He was a Viking.
Not was. Is.
And where was he during all of this? Just waiting by the fog machine for his entrance? The show never bothers to explain what the fuck is happening at any time, but this is Dr. Lancaster, and I guess you're just gonna have to assume he was off camera, but totally here this whole time. Lancaster is played by Edward Mulhare, who Hasselhoff fans might recognize as Devon from Knight Rider. It's quite unfortunate that this was his last acting role before his death, but I guess in Baywatch Nights' favor, as far as Knight Rider reunions go, it's less embarrassing than what they did with him in Knight Rider 2000.
Whatever the fuck that means.
Frozen Out of Time is a magnificent example of wasted talent. In addition to this being the end of Edward Mulhare's 50-year career and Hasselhoff's Monkey's Paw Wish, there are several other notable guest stars. There's Tom Dreesen, a comedian who is part of Tim and Tom, which is credited as being the first interracial comedy duo. He also toured with Frank Sinatra, and here he is playing a random fisherman who fights a Viking. Speaking of the Vikings, who never get names of any kind, they're played by Sven-Ole Thorsen, bodybuilder and frequent Schwarzenegger collaborator, and Nils Allen Stewart, a prolific stuntman who, most importantly, played Jesse Ventura in the extremely accurate and official The Jesse Ventura Story.
Come on, man, just sold him out. He's supposed to be a schmoz. Come on out.
Anyway, who's gonna take care of this dang Viking? And how can we relate this to lifeguards?
Mitch, you know the docks. Find him.
Perfect. No one can navigate docks like Mitch von Malibu, and therefore he'll be able to find the Viking there, because somehow they know he went to the docks. Mitch suggests they call the police, but that's stupid. What are they gonna do that a single lifeguard/PI can't do on his own?
Find him. We have the resources to handle this.
Do you?
If you have the opportunity, use this.
What the hell is it?
An X-Files Nerf gun. It won't help you catch the Viking, but it might look cool.
Alright, well, then I better take some competent backup with me. Ryan, call Griff! I'm Griff! Oh, shut up!
Meanwhile, Ryan asks Lancaster how he knows so much about her and Mitch, despite the fact he's not really said anything about them. And this is his response.
Oh, I'm quite familiar with you, and with the help that you've been giving to Teague, the gift you have in achieving results. Your persistence, his arrogance, unbeatable.
Alright, well, first of all, hats off to Edward Molehair for almost making that line sound believable. Secondly, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Do they have a gift for achieving results? So far, it's kinda seemed like they just stumble into dumb shit until episodes come to a merciful end. The last episode, they didn't even really conclude the serial killer ghost plot. You just have to assume maybe they got the rest of the possessed people later. I'd describe Mitch and Ryan as very beatable. But kudos for calling Mitch arrogant and then pretending like that's an advantage somehow.
That's what happens, Griff. You try and play God. I never consider the downside.
I'm Griff. Mitch seems to relate an awful lot to this Viking guy, and Griff, like us, wonders why Mitch knows all of this Viking stuff all of a sudden.
You live around the sea your entire life and not appreciate the greatest men in the history of the sea. You know, the Vikings actually started cities in Europe. The Vikings were so fierce that the English even had a prayer for them. Lord, protect us from the wrath of the Vikings.
Yeah, everyone, can't believe you missed that Mitch is a real history buff when it comes to ancient Vikings. Except for all of the bad stuff he sugar-coated over or forgot about. You're not a true Baywatch fan if you don't know this factoid about Mitch, Viking expert.
I've always been into Vikings, Griff. It's a passion of mine that I've often discussed. Maybe it doesn't come up that often in conversation with normies, but if you're gonna talk to a lifeguard, ancient Vikings are gonna be discussed one way or another. And especially in these 7 seasons of Baywatch and 2 seasons of Baywatch Nights, 9 seasons of Viking lore. I'm Valhalla!
Well, if I'd lived back then, I might have been one of them.
Mitch von Malibu, honorary samurai and ancient Viking.
My favorite part of being a Viking would be the raiding and the pillaging.
And yes, we're still seeing credits 21 minutes in. If you're unlike Griff and you can do the math, that is halfway into this fucking endless episode.
Get away from there!
You heard him. Get away from that box.
Can you believe this guy taking a big ol' honkin' bite out of our fish?
Used to be back in the day, Vikings treated us fishermen with a little more respect.
You hear that, Viking guy? Get away from that box, you fish eater. Stop with the disrespect.
Yeah, stop with the disrespect.
Oh, that's the opposite of what we said.
Man, that's a big son of a bitch. Maybe you better just let him have the fish.
Like hell.
Dude, he's bitten into one fish. Calm down. I'm sure you take into account some losses on the job. It's not that big of a deal.
It's Nerf or nothing. What was even the plan here?
Yes, understood. Well, I've been called out of the episode, darling. Why was I even here? Anyway, goodbye forever.
Wait. If I'd lived in your time, I would have been one of you. I mean, if I had Scandinavian ancestry and happened to sail and fell into that lifestyle, you know, a lot of different factors would have had to come into play for that to happen. But I just want you to know, I respect all of the robbing and murdering you did.
After all of that, they just call in Teague and some guys who also have a net. What is anyone even doing? And somehow, they still lose track of this guy? Dude's so big, he's got a gravitational pull, but no one can seem to find him.
Man, that's a big son bitch.
You know the word berserk? It comes from the Vikings. Never to retreat. They get themselves so psyched up, they go into battle berserk.
Thanks, Encyclopedia Mitch. Eventually, Mitch's random Viking facts come to a point. Ryan calls to ask what the deal is with these two, and Mitch pulls out of his butt that they must have some blood feud going on. You know the drill.
Could be an honor thing.
Because Ryan was bored enough to call in the middle of this manhunt, Mitch surmises that the Viking guy is heading back to the lab to finish this blood feud. I don't know why he didn't finish the feud while he was there the first time, or how Mitch knows he randomly decided to track back now, but that is nonetheless a correct assumption. Alright, so the first Viking busted through the restraints no problem and immediately found the weapons they left lying around, and in all of the ample time they had with the other guy still frozen, they decided to do nothing to fix that situation. Got it.
Hey Ryan, I meant to call you back and give you a heads up, but I got lazy. That's okay, right? Eat broom bristles, asshole! Kinda seems like the problem solved itself, doesn't it?
No Viking can enter Valhalla without a sword.
Oh, don't suddenly act like this is meaningful, Baywatch! I'm Griff. And since Teague apparently fucked off, it's up to Mitch and Ryan to give these two a proper Viking funeral. For 2 weeks in a row now, Mitch has had to bury a friend. First Stephanie, and now 2 ancient Vikings he chased on a dock for a while. When will the tragedy end for our hero? When? Anyway, Mitch with a flaming arrow screaming, Valhalla!
Valhalla!
Yes! 10 out of 10! You know, this episode blew chunks, but this ending is absolutely perfect. I'm gonna piss myself. Valhalla indeed. Next time on Baywatch, Mitch goes on a talk show and saves Jay Leno. Meanwhile, Stephanie might be reincarnated as a dog. Woof!